Welcome back to Develop and Deploy, the podcast of Harmony Baptist Church in Rogersville, Missouri. I'm your host, Aaron Armstrong, lead pastor here at Harmony, along with our co-host, Devin Pritchard, our worship and discipleship pastor. And this is where we talk about what it means to live on mission, to be developed as disciples, and to be deployed in the world for the glory of God. Today, we're excited to have with us our friend Terry Mitchell. Terry's a church planter who's answering God's call to a brand new work just down the road in Sparta, Missouri. Terry, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Pastor Aaron and Pastor Devin. I'm really excited to be here today.
Well, we're excited to have you.
Yeah, looking forward to what God's going to do in Sparta and what God's doing in your life. Let's get started by getting to know you a little bit. Some of our folks in our audience, maybe some folks in our church don't know you so well. They've heard you preach a couple of times and heard you share a little bit about the vision of Mission Church. But tell us about yourself, your family, a little bit about your background, and how God brought you to this point in ministry. I know that's kind of a big, wide question, but we want to give you plenty of time, an opportunity to share with us and share us a little bit about yourself, your family, and your call to this work.
That's one of the reasons I'm so excited about this is because I grew up in Chadwick my entire life, 10 minutes from Sparta. My family's still there. My kids were raised there. Wow. My wife and I still live there, with our 3 kids, and my mom and dad still live there. My extended family, so for me, this is home.
Yeah.
So background, I taught school at Chadwick. I've been a public school teacher for a long time, and now I teach at-risk youth in Springfield. So I've been in the area teaching at these small schools for a long time. So this has been my passion. This has been my home forever. I've never really left. A lot of people's stories take them all over. I've been in about a 50-mile radius my entire life. Wow. So I went to church at First Baptist Church of Ozark. That's where I got to know Jesus when I was 17 years old. So, and then on a mission trip in Beaumont, Texas, in a hotel room, the Lord told me that you're going to be a pastor of a church. And I said, no, thank you. And I ran for a long time. But the Lord was faithful, and he just kept that call on my life all through those years. It's been, I hate to admit, but it's been 32 years since that night. And the Lord's given me a lot of ministry opportunities. But about 3 years ago, right before I came to Harmony, I really surrendered my life to the Lord and said, hey, whatever you have for me, that's what I'm going to do. And that's when I walked in the doors, and I knew that there was something going on because Harmony didn't need a pastor, but I knew this is where the Lord had led me, and I knew there was something going on. And ever since that day, he's just opened those doors and opportunities since then.
Awesome. Now, you and I have talked before about how the Lord often uses our experience to prepare us for his next assignment for us. When did you first begin to sense that church planning was the next step for you?
So when I came to Harmony, I got an opportunity to go through what was called the 417 residency. And it was put on by the Greene County Baptist Association. So we would meet every Tuesday morning.
That's a good plug, Terry.
Yeah.
Josh Hall and Craig Liskell will love it.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
You're welcome, Josh and Craig. But it was one of the most impactful things that's ever happened to me in my life. So it's not just a plug, it's the truth. But it was about meeting number 2, and they were talking about the way Jesus did ministry and how he set up the church and things. And God made it really clear to me that how I thought this was going to go was not how it was going to be. Yeah. I kind of had in my mind this cookie cutter box thing of I was going to be a pastor and walk into a church that was already established and everything would go nice and smooth and, kind of that thought process.
Wouldn't that be nice to have?
And I think that was more for me because I'm like, that doesn't sound scary at all. Yeah. I can just walk into something that maybe somebody else has already put in place and I can just carry on. But
little comfort level, comfort zone there.
Absolutely. But the Lord, I probably at that moment wouldn't have called it a church plant, but I knew he told me that this is going to look way different than you anticipate. That this is not about collecting people inside a building. It's about going and finding those people that need Jesus. So I knew right away that this is going to look different than I had in my mind. So.
Very cool.
That should be what we're all about, Joe, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, that's what it means to be about the Great Commission.
But I'm excited for you, But I think that would be just an encouragement. That's one of the reasons why I'm excited about this. It's because I think it helps all of us get back to the basics about what church is really supposed to be about.
Yeah.
What we are supposed to be about as believers is the one, right? Going after the one.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I'm excited for you on that.
And then I came back from the residency, and then Devin invited me over to his house, and we were just sitting out front, and he began to talk about Harmony's vision for planting a church in the Sparta area. And I was like, it just clicked at that moment that I'm like, okay, Lord, now you've answered the question of why did you bring me to Harmony? Because I just knew in that moment that God was confirming that call, and like that's my home, and it's such a special place that I was like, I knew at that moment that's why God had brought me here.
So let's talk about Mission Church. What's the vision God has given you for this new church and new work in Sparta?
Okay, so our mission statement first is we exist to know Jesus, nurture disciples of Jesus, and make Jesus known from here to the nations. And what I mean by that is I broke it down into know, nurture, and known. So we want to tell people about Jesus. Right. We want everyone to have that knowledge about Jesus and know what that means and how that can impact their lives. And then once you know that, we want to connect you to your mission. Right. And we want you to discover your mission and what Jesus has for you. And then we want you to join the mission. And then after you do those things, we want to help you find your mission group, because there's going to be that group of people that the Lord's going to bring into your life to help you fulfill that. And then we're going to help you train for your mission. And then we're going to help you figure out how to serve on that mission. And then the known part, like we said, we're not trying to collect people in a church building. Right. Our mission to Sparta is to make Jesus known in that area and beyond. So we want to develop leaders that are going to take that mission and they're going to apply it to their lives, and they're going to go out in the community, and then they're going to go to other places, and maybe they're going to plant a church or have discipleship meetings or groups, and they're going to carry on that mission and replicate what we're doing in Sparta. We don't want to go and just build a building and it stop there. We just want that to be the starting point of Harmony sent us to Sparta, and we want to send someone else somewhere else and replicate that. So on the vision side of it, we said we wanted to see people saved, healed, set free, discipled, equipped, empowered, and serving. And that sounds wonderful on a paper, but what I mean by that is all the things that Jesus offers us, I want to make that known to people, and then I want to help people discover how they can take that and how they can move that forward and make that known to other people. And like I said, replicate that. So Mission Church becomes a catalyst in Southwest Missouri and close to Ozark and Ava and Ofield and Chadwick, and we just become a catalyst for moving that vision to different places and offering to people all the things that Jesus offers, and then teaching them how to teach that to other people. And then so the mission continues on and on and on.
I mean, people spiritually aren't that different. Now, we're different. We look different. We have different education background, economic backgrounds. But people spiritually, we're not that different. We have lostness. We find ourselves chained to addiction and struggles in life. And,
absolutely.
And we, it may look, my problems are look different. Your problems, we got problems. There's just the same answer. And so Jesus is. So I love that name, Mission Church. Such a strong identity in that name. Tell us a little bit about how that name came to be and really what it represents for you and as you guys launch this church.
So another plug, I got to give credit to Pastor Devin on that, because every meeting that we had when we talked about this church plant, two words just kept coming up over and over and over again. It was mission and family. Mm-hmm. It was mission and family. Every time we talked about it, it was mission and family. And Devin's like, pretty sure that it's supposed to be Mission Church, and then we prayed about it because Pastor Aaron, every Sunday I hear you, I'll give you the plug too, you talk about how much the mission matters and that the mission matters most. And we wanted a name that signified why we're there. Right. Like we're not there to just build a building. We're on mission with Jesus to take the love of God to this community and become a part of it and become a part of the family. Right. So our mission there is to bring Jesus to the lost, but then after that, we want to be a part of the community.
Right.
And our mission is to integrate in the community and be a part of it, where if we were no longer in the community, it would make a difference that we left. You know,
Right.
we want to be a part of it. So Mission Church it seemed to fit, because we're just on mission, and we're on mission, and it's God's mission. It's not really our mission.
Right.
So we thought it would be a good opportunity to tell people when they see the words Mission Church that it would give them the sense of, okay, they're there to do something, not just sit and collect.
So this is not a church that's here just so that you can come and attend our church and give to our church, but we're here, a church that's here for the city.
Absolutely.
And for Sparta.
I see it maybe different than some people do, but like I think the church exists for people, not for people. You know, like
Right.
it's not about, yes, it's wonderful to come and worship God together and do all those things, but there's a lot of people that they're not going to come to our church, at least at the beginning. So we have to go find these people. We have to go show them the love of Jesus, because just because you put up a building doesn't mean people are going to be receptive of that. So we want to be a part of the community.
I love it how it's coming out of, the Latin word in the history of the church has been the Missio Dei, the mission of God. And we can see the mission of God, the Missio Dei, all throughout the Old Testament, how he pursues people. And so I love it how you're just joining in, and it's very clear that, hey, we're just joining in on God's mission.
Absolutely.
I'm praying and believing and just hoping and seeing that maybe this could be a catalyst. Maybe this is not the end, but maybe this is the beginning, right, of a catalytic movement of faith around these communities in Southwest Missouri that need folks to come tell them about Jesus. They've got churches, but there's folks that are in those communities that, for whatever reason, just are not being reached, or they don't feel at home in those churches, or whatever the reason might be. Maybe they've never heard about Jesus.
Right.
And they need some folks that'll come outside of that church building and go to where they're at and speak their language to tell them, here is who Jesus is, and here's what he's done for me, and here's what I know he will do for you if you'll give your life to him.
Absolutely. Because like Aaron, you mentioned the Great Commission earlier. It says go into all the world and preach the gospel. It doesn't say set up a tent and wait for people to come.
Right.
It says go find them,
To go after the one, just like, Luke 15, yeah. So when you picture Mission Church 5 years from now, just thinking down the road, I know it's hard to think. You're like we haven't even met yet. We just got a few core team folks that are jumping in with us. But when you picture Mission Church 5 years down the road, what do you hope it looks like?
Like I said, what I hope it looks like is that we are integrated into the community, that we are a part of the community, that we've come into the community and we've developed a sense of, we've shown people the love of Jesus. We've tucked Jesus to people. And sure, as a pastor, I understand that, like, you got to have, if you're going to have a church, you got to have people come. Like I get that. But the overall mission of, but even 5 years later, not be satisfied if people are coming, to not stop the mission, to not be like, oh, we have enough people now we can continue on church. Well, that we continue the mission. And really 5 years from now, I hope that we've deployed a couple of leaders that maybe they're in an area, maybe they're having a small group somewhere, a home church, planting a church. I just don't want it to become stagnant. I want it to be that the mission stays the mission, and it stays the most important. So 5 years from now, that I can honestly say that we've fulfilled what we set out to do. We've stayed on mission. We've brought Jesus to people, but we've also made people's lives better in practical ways, and that we are part of the community, and that the community is receptive towards us, and we're receptive towards the community, and that we've just become a fixture there, and people know that it's a place that they can come and feel comfortable and be part of a family and get to know about Jesus and learn about Jesus, but then take that and replicate it somewhere else to their neighbors and to the rest of the community. And so I guess 5 years from now, I hope that we've advanced that mission, that we're not just sitting still and we're okay with how far we've come, that we're still moving forward and still trying to advance that mission.
In a lot of ways, it's like passing a baton.
Yeah.
In track and field, if you're in the relay race, right? And you run your leg and then, you pass the baton to somebody else to continue the leg. That would be, I think that's what you're saying. The hope would be, and the prayer is that the Mission Church Sparta, and then out of Mission Church Sparta comes another body of Christ or another group, and you're passing the baton, and it's spreading throughout Southwest Missouri and around the world.
Yeah, and I think another thing I would like to see in 5 years that this mission has become a partnership with other churches.
Right.
That it's not just about what we can go and do in the community, but how can we partner with other people and not get into this, it's my church versus your church and that type of thing, but how can we partner together to fulfill the mission? So 5 years from now, I hope I have even more partners lined up that are in the mission and that we're working with different churches, and it's not seen as it's this one against this one, but we're just all trying to advance the kingdom.
Yeah, I think that's the sad reality in the church is that our fleshly human nature gets territorial and gets seeing our church and your church, rather than we're part of one church. We just happen to be different outposts of the same kingdom, and so it's a challenge. But that's exciting to hear what God's up to. Now, some folks might wonder, okay, there are a lot of churches already. There's churches in Sparta. There's churches in Rogersville. There's churches in between Rogersville and Sparta. Why church planting, and more particularly, why would you plant a church there when there are already churches there in Sparta?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this question, and I've prayed a lot about it because I want to make sure that we're being faithful and good stewards to the mission. But the Lord told us very clearly to plant in that area, and I believe that even though it's a small town and there are churches, that there are opportunities for people to be reached that aren't being reached right now. And I think it's not because that churches don't want to reach those people. I think that's just the way the world works. And I think that the way we look at things, I think we might have a fresh perspective on the mission of what the mission really is, and that we're not trying to collect people, but we're just trying to be a part of the community. And I think you can never have too many entities that genuinely care about people and want to make people's lives better and take the gospel to them, because that's what's really the only hope that people have is Jesus and the gospel. And I think the more people that you have doing that in an area, and that's why I think it's so important to work together with those other local churches, as it doesn't become, just another building and just another church and we're kind of working against each other. But I think the mission field, like the Bible tells us, there's lots of opportunities and not very many workers. So I think any time that you can go into a place and aid the other churches and try to reach out to people, that it's going to benefit people's lives.
Well, and the recent stats let us know. I mean, they've been pretty consistent for some time now. Over 2/3 of Missouri doesn't profess faith in anything, and so if that holds true for Sparta, and I believe it does, and it holds true for Rogersville. There's a lot of people that don't know Christ, and need to know the hope of the gospel. And so, if there's many churches there are only making a dent in about 1/3 of the population, how great would it be for another church to come and help and let's say, let's make a dent in the other 2/3 of the population that doesn't know, or more, that don't know Jesus. So,
because I think that's the key here is we're not trying to plant a church in Sparta to try to take members from other churches. That's not the purpose of what we're doing. We're trying to reach people that aren't going to church, or like Devin said, I think we have this false assumption that everyone has heard the gospel and everyone has been given an opportunity to accept or reject that. And I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of people that have heard bits and pieces of it, but don't really understand. So I think the more opportunities that people have for that, it's not really about the church. It's just it's another opportunity to take the love of Jesus to a community.
And the fact is that even the church that we're in right now, the building we're meeting in, the church that we're part of, was 140 years old almost. And so at one point, Harmony
It was a
church plant.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and John Mark and Caleb and I are doing a study called the Church Planting Primer through the New Churches website, through the North American Mission Board. But one of the things that they pointed out in that lesson, in the lessons we're doing, was that Jesus was a church planter, right? Paul was a church planter. The apostles were church planters. The Great Commission, right, is a call to plant churches when you're teaching, baptizing, right?
Right.
It's a call to plant churches.
Absolutely.
And God's mechanism for reaching people is planting new works. And it has always been. It's been using people to plant new works and to take the gospel out and forward. It's never been a inward focus. It's always been an outward. We talked about two big words the other day in our meeting that we were all trying to make sure we understood correctly, but the difference in centripetal force and centrifugal force. Centripetal force, right, it's like pulling towards the inside, right? Like a circle, like the penny at the mall where you dropped a penny in and it spins and it goes in a little hole in the bottom, right?
I love those things.
And they are, as Henry would say, it's very satisfying. But then centrifugal is what God's really called us to be, and how He's wired the church, which is the spinning outward, right? To sending out. And so, I love. Anyway, that was something that really hit me, was that why plant churches? Well, because all of those folks that we look up to and Jesus, who we follow, did, but also that's God's mechanism to grow the kingdom.
It's just kind of confirming that you say that, because my prayer lately has been, because I think we would be a lot of times when we're doing this, we'd be like, Lord, draw people to our church. But my prayer has been the opposite of that. Lord, the people that are in my church, draw them to the people that are not in my church. Like you said, that outward focus of, may we not get content, and may we not want people drawn to our church building, which is wonderful. Yes, we want that, but also a greater need of going out and finding those people. Right.
So you're starting to get in the nitty gritty of planting. You're walking through vision and direction, getting core team together. Tell us a little bit about that process, where you're at, kind of where you're headed. I know you guys are early in on things, because being part of being the ascending church, we get to be early in on this stuff. But tell us where things are at, and maybe even tell us about. I think you have an interest meeting coming up soon. Tell us a little bit about that.
We do. So everything's kind of happening pretty fast. Like in September, we went through the North American Mission Board process. So my wife and I, who I'm very thankful for in this process. So another plug and shout out to Mandy, because without her, I could not do this. So we went through that pretty in-depth process and got the green light from NAM, to be approved for church planters, which has helped me a lot, because the first time that I had a church, I kind of tried to do it lone wolf style, and I tried to do it a lot on my own. But this core group, this people that He's put around me and placed around me, has been wonderful. So November 2nd, we kind of told the people here at Harmony what was happening, that we were going to plant a church, and we have an interest meeting coming up on December 14th for anyone who feels led to be a part of it in any way. There's lots of different ways that they can do that. We're hoping to, after the first of the year, begin our small group meetings, kind of with that core group, and then begin to add more people with that. We're looking at some locations to have some of those, not church services yet, but just those small meetings to get everybody on the same page, and how we're going to engage with the community and so on and so forth. And then see, I guess the timeline after that might be up to the Lord. See how fast that He draws people to this thing. So.
Because the key is not to have a church service, is it? The key
No.
is to engage the city,
Engage
and share
the
gospel.
community. Yes. Yeah. So for the first, to be honest with you, for the first year especially, my main focus is engage the community.
Right.
I'm not, because it's not about me. It's not about me getting to have a church service. It's
Right.
about going into this community and making a difference and bringing Jesus to them. If we will do that, I feel the rest will take care of itself. But so I'm really excited about getting the process started after the first year of getting into the community and doing some different things and some outreach events with them. So.
Well, and that's what Paul did. He'd go into the city, he'd go to the synagogue, he got kicked out, and then he would go, basically preach to the people, to the Gentiles, and that's how the church was born.
That's the thing about this is, in some ways, folks think, "Oh, this is some revolutionary new idea."
No,
this has been around since. Really, you could argue also Israel in the Old Testament, that the mission of God and this idea of commissioning the people to be the light to the nations, right, has been around since God created people.
supposed to bear His image,
Right, right. And so, and then you look to Israel, then you look to Jesus, and you look to the apostles, and even after that, we were having a conversation the other day, John Mark and Caleb and I, about circuit riding preachers on the frontier. This is the same kind of model that Harmony would have been founded in. The idea of, hey, there's not a work here, we're going to start a work here where there needs to be a work. Now, in those days, there may not actually been a work there, right? Mm-hmm. But in our days, the statistics are kind of mind-boggling. 30% of people claim that they don't have any religious affiliation whatsoever. 75-80% of people don't attend church on a regular basis. Just from a sheer numbers standpoint, there's not enough church buildings, in any of our communities to fit all of the people in, right? And we know that the numbers of folks that don't know Jesus far outweigh the number of folks that do.
Absolutely. Kind of go back to your why plant a church, like Devin said. If there was a tremendous move of the Lord in this area, and the people from Chadwick and Oldfield and Ava and south of Ozark and Rogersville and Sparta, if everybody showed up on one Sunday, we wouldn't have enough places for all of these people. Mm-hmm. So, and I believe that God will move. Yeah. And that's why we're going there, because we're going to join Him on what He's already started.
Right.
So I believe there will be a move. So people are going to need to hear the gospel.
Right. Absolutely. Now, for those listening who want to come alongside you, how do they get involved? I'm sure there's not just one pathway. There's probably multiple pathways. But how could someone that's listening, maybe a member of Harmony, maybe someone else who hears this, picks it up on social media somehow, and hears about this, how can they get involved with what God's doing at Mission Church Sparta?
Well, the first thing for me would be prayer. I believe that any move of God, or if anything is going to be sustainable or doable, it comes through prayer. So pray for my wife and I, pray for our core team, pray for the community, pray for leaders in the community that they're receptive to us, pray that the churches are, that we work together. There's all kinds of prayer needs that God would move before us, and that we just come there and join His work. So the first thing would be is no matter who's listening to this, the first thing would be, please pray for it.
Right.
Because to me, that's the most powerful thing that you can do at this time, is just pray. Because the devil, he doesn't want this to happen, and he's actively fighting it. So prayers for protection and prayer for guidance, that we make decisions that are in the best interest of the Sparta community, and that we're actually doing things in a way that give glory to God. So those prayers would be appreciated. And then, a lot of people don't like to talk about this, but guess what? If you're going to do something, you need finances. So if the Lord leads you to give something to this process, that would be such a blessing to us, because we know that and that money is going to be used up front. lots of outreach. Like I said, our focus is to help the community. It's not to do things to celebrate us. It's to do that. So if the Lord leads you to give.
And we do have at hbcrogersville.com, we have on our give page, we actually have a tab for Mission Church set up now. So if folks wanted to give, they could give, and those dollars go directly to an account set aside for you guys. So if someone want to do that, you can just go to hbcrogersville.com and you get a tax deductible gift there. So that'd be pretty cool.
And then another way, I kind of wrote down serving and joining like together. I believe that there's people that the Lord's leading to join us on this adventure. And I just pray that they would say yes to that if you're being led in that way. There may be people that are led to come and join us for a month or 2 months or 6 months or a year. There's all kinds of commitments that can be made, or you may not join us at all, but you may come and just help us with outreach events. We're going to need lots of bodies, like just to help serve the community. I also think that each one of us has a gift that God has bestowed upon us. And I would just ask that you pray about that and see how those gifts that God has given you could further this ministry. Like maybe you're a wonderful singer. We could use that. Maybe you play instruments. Maybe you're really good on the business side of things. Maybe there's all kinds of things that we're going to need.
Maybe do with social media. Maybe
social media stuff, because I am not good with that stuff.
I am not either, so I'm glad that we have people in our church.
It probably shows. This is the very first podcast I have ever done. So I'm not, like, there's all kinds of ways and there's all kinds of gifts that could be used. There's nothing too small or nothing too large. Like in any way that you feel led to help this mission, then I'm all for it. So whether it's prayers, money, or just giving of your time or your talents, or so we're on the ground floor. So this is what's exciting to me about this is we can kind of make this look how it needs to look. We can tailor it to the community. We can kind of do things maybe in a little bit different way, but there's lots of opportunities for people to serve and get on the ground floor and use those gifts that God has given them.
This question, not on the script, but one that I had, and I think there's probably some people out there wondering this also. Like what, when you talk about your target area, we've heard you mention Chadwick and Bruner and Oldfield and Sparta, Ozark, Ava. Can you explain, how all of those, that since I've got to know you guys and I've got to know David and Jacqueline, I've been down to Chadwick quite a lot and been around Sparta. I understand it more, but those of us, Northerners,
Yankees up
the Yankees up here.
I didn't want to say that word.
The Yankees up here in Rogersville, some people their brains are exploding now, having just been called Yankees. But I'm used to it. I've grown up in that world. But
just remember that was Pastor Devin that said that. Not that was not affiliated from Mission Church.
But us Northerners up here, like, can you explain a little bit about your target area and how some of those community dynamics work together?
Well, all of those places that you have mentioned, like, one, that's my home. Like, I've been in that area my entire life. I have family members in all of those places that you said. So it's near and dear to my heart, just off the top. Like, when the Lord gave me the opportunity to plant a church here, it was almost like he was telling me, go tell your family about Jesus, which is a wonderful opportunity. But those small towns, what I've seen my entire life is there's a way of life. There's values that are very consistent. They're the way of life, the way they do things, the pace at which they live life. But I've also seen my father does a lot of auctions and benefits for people that are in trouble or have needs or need money for medical bills and things like that. And I always see all those communities come together and help each other out and protect each other and support each other. And I think there's just a love for each other in each one of those places that if we could get a move of God in those areas where there's those tight-knit bonds already, if we could get the love of Jesus added to those tight-knit bonds, I think it could be an explosion of the mission in those areas, because they're already bonded together. Let's be honest, like people from Sparta marry people from Ava and vice versa in Chadwick, and we all have kids that move up the road and they live in the town just
Right.
opposite of where we're at. So it's like one big family already.
Yeah.
And if we could just tap into that and get people connected and hooked in to those families and to being a part of God's family, I think it just goes hand in hand together.
So when we say Mission Church Sparta, then when you say Mission Church Sparta, you're not saying, hey, we're just reaching the city limits of Sparta. You're saying, hey, we're looking at reaching Chadwick. And
Absolutely.
we're looking at reaching Bruner and Oldfield
Absolutely.
and, eastern part of Ozark and southern
Absolutely.
part of Raj and, the area.
Yeah. Sparta kind of, to me, was like a kind of central location of that might be a good, because eventually we're going to have a building at some point, and that would be probably where the building
Right.
was at in Sparta. But so that central location gave us the ability to reach out to Oldfield and Chadwick and Bruner and Ava. I thought it was a strategic location to then be able to reach out to all those different places. So when we say Mission Church of Sparta, yes, that'll be a physical address at some point, but the mission is to reach all of those places around Sparta and as far as we can absolutely reach. And then the mission eventually is to reach the entire world from Sparta. But yes, absolutely, it's when we say Mission Church of Sparta, it's absolutely not just for people of Sparta.
So I know this is sorry, I'm co-opting the conversation here. I had a follow-up question. I'll be quick. I know this is kind of throwing you on the spot, but what are some ways that you've thought about or dreamed about or envisioned reaching into those communities? What are some, you talk about engagement and engaging in the community, ministering to the community. What are some ways that you're praying about doing that?
So we've kind of been putting together, and my wife has been wonderful about this too, and my kids. So we're thinking of ways, like practical ways to help the community, such as we've seen a lot of needs on some of the social media groups for single mothers who have needs of like diapers, formula, things of that nature. In every community, there's needs for food and items like that, clothing, coats, but things like lunch bills at the high schools in those towns. We're talking about possibly having a location where once every couple weeks you can, like a free daycare, where you can drop your kids off for 3 or 4 hours and you can go grocery shopping, or you can go at a doctor's appointment, or you can go home and take a nap if you haven't had one of those in a long time. But just practical ways.
It's a novel concept.
Well, just practical ways of not just coming into a community and saying.
I haven't had one of those in a long time.
Well, I think there's a lot of people, especially with younger children, that they don't get naps, or they don't get just a second to themselves. So we would like to come in and somehow take some things off of people's plates where that burden is a little bit less, and it not just be about walk by people and say, hey, Jesus loves you, but actually showing people the love of Christ in ways that we can impact. I'll put him on the spot. One of the guys that's in our core group, his name is Nick. I'll give you his name and number if you need it. But Nick happens to be very handy. Yeah. Like, he's really good at fixing stuff. So one of our ministries we thought about, if there were people in the community who were not handy, such as myself, that, maybe Nick could come over and put in a sink or fix a toilet, or, put the yard gate back on, or fix a window or something like that. Just practical ways to show people the love of Jesus and to become a part of that family, of that community, where they feel comfortable calling us with needs that they have, because they know that Mission Church cares about them, not just about, they're not a number in a building, they're part of our family.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. So before we wrap up, what's one big thing God has taught you personally through this journey, through the whole, getting to this point? What's God taught you through this journey?
Just how faithful he is. I think there's times where we think that we can mess up God's plans. But 32 years ago, he told me to do this. And here I am. That was at 17. Here I am at 49. Ooh, here I am at 49.
It's okay. I'm 49.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's good.
And,
It's a good age.
and you know, but through this whole process, there's been times where I've been very faithful to him, and there's been times where I have not been at all. But God is always there.
Yeah.
He's always faithful. And if you're doing what he asks you to do, he will show up. He will not leave you there by yourself. I've seen him just introduce himself to me in so many different ways through this process. And just, if there's anyone out there who is doubting the faithfulness of God, I am living proof that our God is so faithful even when we don't deserve it.
So if someone here is listening, feels God stirring their heart toward church planting or missions, what would you encourage them to do? How would you give them a word of encouragement today?
Say yes. Because once you say yes, that kind of gives God permission to do what he's going to do. Now, God can do whatever he wants to do. I understand that. But once you say yes and once you surrender, God just swoops in and does things that you can't even imagine. And that fear is absolutely a liar. All those things that it's my favorite song, by the way. So another plug. But all those fears that you have, once you say yes, God will just start to put those away. He'll just start to take them away from you. And it won't be easy. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be a struggle, but he's going to carry you through it. If you're seriously surrendering your life to him and doing what he's called you to do, whether it's plant a church or in your home or at your job, I promise you he will be faithful and that he will carry you through.
Awesome. Well, Terry, it has been so good having you with us here today and sharing about the mission church that God has put on your heart. We're cheering you on. We're in your corner. We encourage others that listen today to find ways to be in the corner of what God is doing in Mission Church by praying first and foremost, by looking for opportunities to give, and then looking opportunities to join and serve. Do remember December 14th here at Harmony, right after our morning worship service, there will be an interest meeting, and we'd love for you to be part of that. Well, thanks for listening to Develop and Deployed, the podcast from here in Harmony. We look forward to more episodes of what God is up to and to share how we might all be developed and deployed for the mission of God. If you want to know more about Harmony Baptist Church, I encourage you to check us out at HBCRogersville.com. Until next time, let's keep developing and deploying for the glory of God.